It was the year of 2015. My popular choices of video games at the time were Call of Duty Black Ops 2 and I believe Battlefield 3, games that are very far from the open world survival genre. It wasn't until I was browsing the Xbox store for games to play that I spotted a game called ARK Survival Evolved, and you could say it caught my eye immediately. As a man or woman stranded naked, freezing and starving on a mysterious island, you must hunt, harvest, craft items, grow crops, and build shelters to survive. Use skill and cunning to kill or tame and ride dinosaurs and primeval creatures roaming the land, teaming up with hundreds of players or play locally. What? How cool does this sound? Sign me up! I felt like I needed a good change up from the typical games I tend to play, plus it was being sold at a massively reduced price of like in between £6 to £9. That's right, £6, which will be around $8 if I'm not mistaken. My memory isn't the best, but it was dirt cheap. Thinking to myself, this will be a nice game to mess around on. Little did I know what I was getting myself into at the time, as this game would literally change my life forever. And this is not even a joke, by the way. ARK had been in early access on PC since June 2015 and released to Xbox One later that year in December. It did not officially release until August the 29th, 2017, which is quite a long time in early access. However, during that time it did add a lot of content to the game, including creatures, maps, and other new content consistently dropping through its early access years, all the way through until its remastered version of ARK Survival Ascended in October 2023. You may have heard of ARK, or you may not have. If you have heard of it, then you've probably heard many bad things about the game, but also many good things about it too. I'd say the Steam reviews are quite a good indication on how good this game really is, with over 541,000 reviews, with 84% being positive. And I can assure you the stats aren't lying. The fan base for the game is quite niche, but there is no denying that this game has probably had a huge influence on many of the open world survival games we see out there today. So I wanted to dive into everything I love about this game and why it has kept me hooked for so many years. I mean, I have been playing this game non-stop since 2015, which is almost 10 years since its induction into the world of gaming, while racking up over a whopping 13,802 hours gameplay time on Xbox alone, 1,825 hours on Steam. And while I'm here, I may as well chuck in my ARK Survival Ascended gameplay time, which is 1,880 hours since its launch in October 2023, which after computing means I have played ARK for a grand total of roughly 17,505 hours in total, which is pretty crazy when I come to think of it. What an absolute trooper I am. I have played every aspect of this game to death: official PvP back in the legacy days, official PvE, unofficial PvP, and PvE. And it's been a wild ride to say the least. So in this video I wanted to take you all for a trip down memory lane and share my detailed experience with this highly, maybe even unhealthily addicting game. I did want to quickly shout out Pyroha, hopefully I didn't butcher that name. His I Love ARK Survival Evolved video popped up in my feed. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it and it inspired me to make a video of my own. So I highly recommend checking out his channel and showing him some love. The link will be in the description of the video. So in this video I have split the sections up into timestamps, which are big talking points. So what makes this game so good? Allow me to tell you. Starting out in this game can be a very daunting task. After creating a character, most likely one that resembles absolutely nothing of your real life appearance, typically most players seem to enjoy creating the ugliest, most deformed character possible that the game will allow. I usually like to make mine tall and skinny like a giraffe. This is how I look in real life anyway. Character creation in itself is a thing of beauty, and I think it's safe to say that all players love this feature. ARK will throw you into the deep end, where you have the choice to spawn at a variety of locations over a giant mysterious island. Considering this game has absolutely no beginner tutorial, the closest thing you'll get to it is the random hints that appear whenever you're stuck on the in-game loading screen. Not exactly what I would call the most useful of information. Cheers mate, thanks for telling me I need a ramp to get into my door. I think it's safe to say that everyone will wake up on the beach naked and afraid and have absolutely no idea what they are doing or what their purpose in life is. And that is exactly how I remember my first experience playing this game. You'll no doubt be running around aimlessly, asking yourself the question of what the hell am I meant to be doing here? By this point, you've already been gobbled up by the local unfriendly neighborhood raptor pack, a classic experience every player will encounter when playing this game for the very first time. After a few respawns, you'll then discover your inventory, which is like a breath of fresh air. Still complicated, but still fresh air, and it will give you a little idea of what's going on as you'll then find the crafting menu, realizing you'll need certain resources to be able to craft certain items. This is when you'll figure out how to pick up your first stone off the beach. Oof, you hear that sound? That's like ASMR. And that beating up a tree with your bare fists rewards you with a puny amount of wood and thatch, where you can craft yourself your first item in the game, the legendary stone pickaxe, where the world feels like it's now your oyster, or at least for some it is. I have a lot of friends that I know have played this game and they don't even make it off the beach, because once they craft that stone pickaxe, or maybe even a campfire, they get stuck in a never-ending death cycle of being killed by raptors and who knows what, with no idea of where to spawn and where to recover their gear. A lot of them just quit the game right off the bat, which is very unfortunate, but I can guarantee that you will not regret your decision if you stick it out to prevail through this ever so punishing early game that ARK has to offer. So now you have a rough idea of how the game works, it's time to showcase everything that I love about ARK. ARK may not give you any guidance whatsoever on the direction of which you progress, and it is extremely complicated for new players to figure out what to do, where to go, and how to gather resources, and well, how to even find any craftable items. Once accessing your inventory, once leveling up and putting those levels into your character's stats, it will take you straight to the engram section. The game is beginning to make more sense, where you can spend points every time you level up, unlocking certain items, structures, weapons, etc, and there is a lot of items that you can learn in this game. And if my math is correct, there is a whopping 617 different items, which I did count myself in game. So if I am incorrect, then I guess I can't count. I remember being so excited when I finally figured out how to craft items, to the point where whenever I would gain a level up on my character, I would instantly spend all my points aimlessly unlocking every item I see, which felt great at the time and felt like the right thing to do. Something I would later regret a few days later when leveling up becomes much slower and can't actually learn the more important engrams that allow you to, well, progress. I think it's safe to say we've all been there and done that. The game's progression really is a thing of beauty, where you will induct yourself into a game as a beach bob, the most primitive possible, building yourself a thatch hut on the beach, while still having no idea what you are actually doing, other than having a main mission of getting that roof over your head before nightfall hits. The more you play, the more the addiction kicks in, and you will begin to see yourself progress through the tiers of items, crafting stations, and most notably, upgrading said primitive thatch hut to a sturdier and better looking wooden box, later moving into the Stone Age, where you'll level up to even more reliable materials of stone structures. By this point, you'll probably be a hard-working member of society, able to advance to that shiny, smooth and sleek metal tier, which if you are considering building while playing PvE means you're probably some sort of madman or woman, and it means you're probably raking in the money because cementing paste is basically currency in this game. While on the subject of ARK's building mechanics, it is actually amazing what you can build in this game, especially if you can think outside of the box. No pun intended. Well, maybe. But honestly, I don't have the skill or mind to be able to think of a cool base to build. However, there are many people that do have that skill set. My friend Chips is a great example, with many awesome building tutorials on his YouTube channel that can be easily followed to the T and perfectly replicated into your own world as you see fit. He also has many awesome 100 days playthrough videos where he challenges himself to intricate builds throughout his journey, while featuring many builds that he has tutorials for on his YouTube channel. Another great example is my friend Captain Fat Dog, probably the smartest dude I have ever met. He will absolutely wow you with the way his mind works, and how he bends the game's building mechanics in ways you could never think were possible. He has many unique creature trap builds, and also very unique large-scale build videos showcasing some ridiculous techniques. I'm watching this footage right now, and it's the first time I've seen his ocean-based build, looking absolutely gobsmacked. It probably looks like I've actually just seen a ghost, but damn, this man is something else. A building and cinematic genius. I can only dream to have a mind that works like that. So I wanted to showcase both these building gods, Chips and Captain Fat Dog, because with the right plan and mind, building can be mesmerizing in this game. I highly recommend checking both of them out. Links to their channels will be in the description of the video and in a pinned comment. There is always something else to build in this game, while constantly expanding, upgrading, and improving your base's facilities throughout your journey. While playing this game, you are forever evolving, living up to the original game's name of ARK Survival Evolved. You could say they nailed the title, that's for sure. It is exactly how humans started out on this earth. I'm sure everyone has heard of the story of Adam and Eve. I'm not too familiar with it, but from what I gather, the myth has them down as the first male and female to walk the earth. And this is exactly how it feels when you play ARK. We spawn on this mysterious island as a man or woman. We have to figure it all out ourselves from then on out. While being surrounded by unfamiliar fauna, we walk the exact same path that humans did many years ago, figuring out how to gather resources with our bare fists, learning how to hunt to keep ourselves well fed, discovering fire, admittedly not as difficult as it would be in real life, moving on to discovering the ins and outs of electricity, and what it means to create a well-oiled machine and fully functional base. But this game does have such a steep learning curve that it really does give you that feeling of what it would be like to survive naked and afraid like humans did back in the day. The more you play, the more you learn. Therefore, the more you evolve. It is evident that there is a lot to do in this game, and progression will be slow for new players, but I think this is what makes it so special when compared to other survival games. I, however, actually love the feeling of starting out fresh from level 1. The early game, in my opinion, is by far the most exciting thing to experience in this game. Therefore, I really do envy new players. The feeling of not knowing anything, not knowing whether a creature is hostile or friendly, and the constant adrenaline rush it gives you when exploring the unknown. I would give anything to experience ARK for the first time again. You can also alter any of the in-game settings to your world to cater to your liking. I can assure you as a new player that you won't want to endure the pain of having everything set to 1x rates. Give yourself a little boost here and there. It will make your experience so much better. Moving on, there is a very important feature that will help you quickly progress through this game, which leads us on perfectly to the next subject, which is going to be... It's no secret that the biggest factor as to why we all love playing ARK so much is because back when it released, it was really the only open world survival game at the time that featured dinosaurs. They are the bread and butter, the heart and soul of the game, and there is a lot of them. Over 195 different species of creatures, as well as 303 different variants, for a total of 498 various creatures to be found through different ARKs. This includes a wide variety of birds, fish, invertebrates, mammals, reptiles, and of course predominantly dinosaurs. Not only does it feature many creatures that once existed in real life, but it also features a long list of mythological beasts too. It is really impressive, and it's clear as to why people would enjoy this game so much. Open world survival, a never-ending list of craftable items, and in-depth game progression. A real taste of survival, surviving as a puny human against wild dinosaurs and prehistoric creatures, while advancing and evolving as humans did in real life, while also appealing to the dinosaur and prehistoric creature fans. I will admit I wasn't even bothered about the dinosaurs all that much before I started playing this game. I just wanted to try a new game and give an open world survival game a whirl. But if anyone could see me right now, well, let's just say I'm a 34-year-old man that over time has amassed a collection of cuddly toys that are all prehistoric creatures and dinosaurs. My wife seems to enjoy them a lot, at least. Anyway, moving back to the in-game creatures, almost every single creature in ARK serves a purpose. Kinda like real life, so instead of hunting deer or chickens for food, you will hunt dodos for raw meat, and so on and so forth. You will be following the exact same path that humans walked all those many years ago, hunting to keep themselves well fed, while skinning said creatures for their hide and pelts to aid you in crafting better clothes. You smack them up with a hatchet in ARK, but it sounds better when I say it that way. ARK's biggest selling point by far is that you can tame almost every single creature in this game. Creatures are super important for quick advancement. They can aid you in many ways, whether it be stomping down trees for wood and thatch, smashing up resource nodes with these armored beasts and their useful tails. You'll definitely find yourself having to gather a lot of metal almost endlessly in this game, and there's nothing worse than having to harvest it all by hand. Tickling a bush or two for some fibers, utilizing the wide variety of herbivores for collecting berries from the island flora, or if you're confident enough, taming the most ferocious ferocious apex predators that the game has to offer. Every creature is a beauty in its own right, but the thing that impresses me the most about these creatures is their wide range of abilities, but also the unique taming methods. Most creatures can be tamed by knockout methods, after pelting them with tranquilizing weapons, but a lot can also be tamed more intimately, known as passive taming, where you shove pieces of their favorite food straight up their bum. But it does not end there. There is much more complicated taming methods too, something I'm not too big on myself, but I do still appreciate the attention to detail. For example, one of the largest apex predators, the Dinosaurs, will require you to drag creature carcasses to it to gain its trust, which, if I'm being honest, is a terrifying ordeal. I would be here all day describing all the unique taming methods, but I did want to show it some love too, even if I am a fan of basic knockouts and passive taming methods. All in all, there's almost always a creature you can tame that can do things better than your feeble survivor can. Want a greenhouse to grow crops, but you need a ton of fertilizer? Tame a dung beetle. Want to harvest and hoard a load of metal to and from your base? Tame up an Ankylosaurus and an Argentavis. Want to expand your stone fortress? Tame up a Doedicurus. Want to explore the freezing cold ice biome? Tame up an otter. Want a creature to hand feed your babies and travel across the map at the speed of sound? Tame up a Maywing. Every creature serves a purpose in this game, some are better than others, but that is the beauty of the progression system. You'll tame many starter creatures at a lower level, and the more your character levels up, you'll also level up those creatures, while upgrading to something better that requires a higher player level to unlock the saddle. I do love every creature in this game. I tame creatures and treat them as I would treat a real life pet, and if for some reason they die throughout my playthrough, I am honestly devastated every single time. You really do form close bonds with these creatures in the game, as sad as it sounds, but it is true. I feel absolutely no shame in admitting that, but I do believe it when I say we all feel this way. And yes, I do also mean those annoying microraptors that will dismount you off your creature out of nowhere, sending you straight to the slaughterhouse. However, I have also tamed one of those annoying things before in probably one of the most toughest playthroughs yet, and it actually saved my life one time. So I always remember that even the most annoying creatures in the game can also be very beneficial in one way or another. The mechanics of these creatures is pretty much never ending. This is without even mentioning mating, breeding and mutating, which you can do with almost any species when you own a male and female. It is also a very important aspect of the game to make them much stronger and far more powerful. This is a highly complicated and in-depth process alone, which I definitely can't cover in this video, but I had to mention it as it is still something that really impresses me about this game. Plus, how cute are the babies? Oh, look at that cute little face. So that just about covers the creatures. Let's move on to the next subject. ARK Survival Evolved has a total of 12 official maps, 6 story maps and 6 community maps that were created by talented modders that Wildcard later added to the official roster of maps. I will go through the premise of each of the story maps first, then move on to the community maps, showcasing everything that makes them so great. The island is where it all began, and in my opinion is the best way to begin playing the game. The map consists of one giant landmass surrounded by ocean, therefore an island. Duh. It has a very straightforward bare bones design when compared to later map installments, but it still has the perfect ingredients to make a well-rounded and complete world to explore, and is still to this day one of my favourite maps to play, even though I have played it for 5 or more different playthroughs, consisting of 5 main biomes: the beaches and jungles, the swamps, the redwoods, the freezing cold snow biome, and of course probably the largest biome of all, the ocean. Cave exploration is by far one of my favourite features in this game, and the island still to this day, even after all the following map installments, has some of the best and challenging in the game. I remember exploring for the first time, finding a tiny hole or crack in a rock. That's what she said! To find a cave system inside. And I always remember it clear as the light of day. The first cave I found was the Volcano Cave. I was online with some friends at the time, but I was exploring alone riding a raptor. I went inside, got scared instantly, and tucked my tail in between my legs, running back out of the cave to wait for my friends so we could go in together. It makes me laugh thinking about it, but that is what this game is like when you start playing it. An adrenaline fueled ride where you care more about your creatures than yourself. The last thing you want is for your creatures to die in this game. Anyway, back to the island caves. The map has it all: deep ocean caves, freezing cold icy caves, boiling hot lava caves, caves that are filled with toxic gas that can quickly kill off any unprepared survivor. All caves have dangers lurking around every corner, creepy crawlies, slivery suckers, ready to turn your adventure upside down. Overcoming these caves will see yourself reaping the rewards of tasty loot crates, and at the end of the road retrieving the artifact. I remember it being so satisfying discovering my first artifact. You'll have to run each and every single one of these caves retrieving artifacts and upgrading your gear through loot crates, requiring said artifacts to summon the 3 bosses of the island: the Broodmother, the Megapithecus, and the formidable dragon boss, all offering a challenging experience. After defeating those, you move on to the Tech Cave and the Overseer boss, which is the final boss of the map. A long cave filled with the most dangerous predators, by far the most adrenaline fueled experience I have ever experienced in this game. At the end of this cave, you will face the Overseer, another challenging and unique boss. This is why I love the island so much. The level of progression is still almost unmatched when compared to later map installments, and I'm such a big fan of progression in this game. Once defeating the Overseer, it will lead you onto Scorched Earth. This is a map that surprisingly receives a lot of hate, and guess what? It's one of my favourite maps too. It is, however, extremely unforgiving for new players. The map is a boiling hot desert and mountainous region, while being surrounded by sand dunes, where the most dangerous of predators reside. The early game on this map is by far the most punishing, as you have to deal with the constant heat, lack of natural water sources, dehydration, heat stroke, natural weather storms including sandstorms, heat waves and lightning storms. And that's without mentioning the dangerous wildlife, so if the elements don't kill you, the creatures sure will. There is almost nowhere safe to spawn. I mean, if you do spawn and something isn't eating your face off, then you probably got very lucky. This map completely changed the way people play ARK, which is why I love it so much. It takes survival to a whole nother level. It was the first map to officially introduce a new roster of deadly fantasy themed creatures, including the Rock Elemental, the Phoenix, the Wyvern, and the King of the Sands, the Deathworm, just to name a few. All straying so far from the original map of the island, yet all of these beautiful creatures fit so well into the game, and it's such an exciting experience to navigate and grind your way through a totally different map while also feeling like you're playing a totally different game. Well, not really, but kinda. You'll get to experience another adrenaline rush like no other, where to obtain your own tamed wyvern, you'll need to steal a fertilized egg right under the parents' noses. No doubt having an entourage of angry parents nipping at your heels. Sadly, the map does fall short in the artifact cave and boss department for me, only having 3 artifacts and 1 boss being the Manticore, but I do commend the developers on giving us another new unique boss fight to experience. Moving on to another favourite map of mine, and I do feel like I'm saying this with every map, but honestly the first few story maps in ARK are by far the best for me. Aberration. Oh man, just seeing footage of this map in ARK Survival Evolved gives me goosebumps, and I feel like I could just watch this play and not say a word because the map speaks for itself. But I suppose I better tell you how this map makes me feel. I know I said Scorched Earth changed the direction of the game and how we perceived it, but damn, Aberration really did turn ARK upside down on its head with another completely fresh experience that I think it's safe to say no one expected at the time, introducing us to a whole new world full of fresh and unfamiliar biomes, inhabited by even more unfamiliar creatures. Adding to this, it was the first non-flyer map, which I personally loved. It made the map far more challenging. It places survivors on a damaged ark. Its internal atmosphere has leaked away, resulting in a harsh surface with intense radiation, and a plethora of lush biomes underground. Many natural hazards, creatures, and the nature of the environment present a thrilling new world to explore and master. The map is split into 3 biomes, where 2 are unexplorable until 1 has upgraded and prepared themselves accordingly, which can be achieved for the fertile region in the north, which is the only location where you can begin your journey, offering a much more beginner-friendly environment. Later progressing down into the bioluminescent region and the molten region, which is fully irradiated, only explorable with a full hazard suit and those trusty washing up gloves. These are by far some of the most dangerous biomes ARK had seen to date. These biomes are referred to as the green, blue, and red zones, indicating a level of danger for each biome and the color of gems that can be harvested from each zone. You can only begin thinking about exploring these once you have a portable charged light source, which comes in the form of the 4 new super cute light pets. Oh, look how cute they are. As Aberration is a damaged ark, the surface regions are scorched earth times 1,000,000. Attempting to explore in the daytime will see you and your beloved creatures get burnt to a crisp. Aberration does also add seasons, which will affect the amount of daylight and night per day, so you'll most likely have to wait for the right season to make the most of exploring the surface, as it can only be explored at night. Of course, there are many benefits to the surface. Supply crates coming down in the form of high tier loot to be had, and is extremely rich with rare resources. But of course, it's never going to be an easy task with dangerous surface reapers lurking below, which densely populate the region. Aberration adds a new roster of popular fantasy themed creatures to the game: the cave wolf known as the Ravager, the bane of my existence, the Nameless, the giant crab which is the Carcanos, and the highly aggressive, highly dangerous rock drake, reapers, and basilisk. There's a trend going on here. None of these creatures are friendly, and are quite frankly straight up terrifying, but will no doubt be extremely beneficial if you can tame and befriend them. It also adds 3 artifact caves, all possessing unique dangers and hazards within, progressive through the map to the ultimate boss fight. That is the Rockwell Freak of Nature. Another new and great take when it comes to boss fights. It is probably the most unique map of all. There is so much here that you need to familiarize yourself with, which is why Aberration has always been a standout map for me that takes us on this non-stop adrenaline fueled ride. And it did really set the tone to what we will see in the future of this game. We then travel on over to Extinction. This map is set on a ravaged Earth, forcing us players to survive Earth unfamiliar to us, experiencing many strange creatures and unfamiliar environment. In the center of the map lies an abandoned city, known as the Great City, a safe haven for survivors, or at least for the most part. Outside of the city borders, pockets of life can be hard to find among the corrupted wasteland, heavily populated with corrupted creatures, which are far more powerful and extremely aggressive versions of their vanilla counterparts, regardless of their previous temperament. Throughout the wasteland, orbital supply drops can be seen falling through the sky and crash landing on Earth, and also element veins rising up from the ground, offering a new and challenging way to obtain excessive amounts of loot and element through running a horde-based style defense. Defeated waves of corrupted creatures to reap the most valuable rewards at the end of the road. Typical ARK biomes can be found in their respective protective force field domes. To the southeast, the desert dome; to the north, the snow dome; and to the northwest is the sunken forest, which was supposed to be another Ark but failed when it collapsed, creating a giant underwater cave system. Strangely enough, these proto-Arks represent past challenges the survivor has already faced. The snow dome vaguely representing the island snow biome, the desert dome representing scorched earth, and the sunken forest bearing similarities to Aberration. I find it a very calming area to explore, and it does feel like a holiday from the rest of the map, and is surprisingly very beginner friendly. Only issue is it's miles underground, so not really beginner friendly to travel to and from. All in all, I love every aspect of the map, from the deadly wasteland and everything else in between to the forbidden zone, by far the most dangerous region on the map, and I think it's been executed perfectly. I really do feel like I'm exploring an extraterrestrial area where it feels like I don't belong. Exploring here under equipped will send chills running down your spine, as you are almost oblivious to what dangers you can face out here. One thing's for sure, this area keeps us on our tiptoes, and it kind of makes you question if you are even playing ARK anymore. It's so far from the original base game, but once again it feels so right within the setting of the map, which is what I love about these story maps. Everything's always so different, but honestly the game developers smash it out the park every time. The map also adds more fan favourite, fantasy themed creatures: the snow owl, which is actually one of my favourite creatures in the game; the Managarma, a very strong battle mount, and the quickest way to traverse the map; the Gacha, which is every loot goblin's dream; the portable creature turret, the Velonosaur, just to name a few. It also adds mechanical creatures to the game like the Enforcer, which is a first, but as mentioned before, they fit so well into the game and even look and feel like you're riding a creature anyway. You can't really say that about the mech though. It is a giant sized robot that can be piloted by survivors, able to dish out very powerful attacks and able to wield additional modules to boost its abilities and weaponry. Extinction was another game changer when it came to gameplay value, as I can safely say that nothing compares to slaying and even taming yourself your very own Titan, which are basically the bosses to fight on Extinction, where you will then have to face the most powerful Titan of all, the King Titan, which is one of the most challenging boss fights you will face throughout your ARK journey. And then we move on to Genesis Part 1. Remember when I said the game developers smash it out the park every time? Well, this one was a little bit of a miss for me. Every other story map before this was executed perfectly. I mean, I still enjoyed my time playing Genesis Part 1. I just did not replay it over and over again like I did with other maps. I feel like a lot of players probably got a little lost when it came to the story of ARK with this addition, as it deviates so far from what ARK originated from with the island. Even I still don't understand this part of the story, and I've been playing the game for almost 10 years. I did like some of the features of the map, but allow me to break it down briefly. Genesis Part 1 is some sort of simulation across 5 distinct biomes in the form of mini-maps. The bog, which is a representation of the swamp biome, which by the way is dubbed the easy spawn zone. I don't really call spawning inside a Caprasuchus's mouth an easy situation. The Arctic, which is a representation of the snow biome, with the eastern half being fully covered in a heavy blizzard, making visibility almost impossible. I've always loved the weather effects in this game, plus I'm a sucker for a snow biome. I just think it adds a lot more uniqueness to the survival experience. The ocean, which is a fully oceanic biome, with only a few small islands of explorable landmass. I really liked the ocean on Genesis Part 1 though. It is far more unique and detailed as opposed to any other ocean in ARK. It does also add the first water boss to the game too, a feature I wish we saw more of in ARK. The volcanic biome hits the nail on the head for being a new and very unique biome, home to dangerous predators and an active volcano, which is another feature I love by the way. Deep down inside the belly of this volcano is a magmasaur nesting ground, one of Genesis Part 1's new additions to the creature lineup. And the final biome is the Lunar, another extremely unique take on a brand new biome concept. We had never seen anything remotely close to this before in ARK, where we get to experience the feeling of ascending for real, to high orbit that is. The entire biome added fresh new mechanics to the game, a low gravity biome which honestly probably had me pulling my hair out a lot of the time. One tiny little bonk or bite from a creature and you're getting sent into oblivion, full of large asteroids, while being a deadly environment home to new and deadly creatures ready to hunt you down, or up into orbit. Home to the giant space whale, aka the Astrocetus. If you can tame one of these bad boys, you'll have yourself the creature version of an AC-130. What I did want to point out is that the detail of the Genesis Part 1 biomes are all outstanding, and when you compare this to previous map installments, it does feel like a night and day difference in terms of graphics and detail. They are really well put together, and I could honestly get lost in space staring at the lunar biome all day. It is absolutely stunning, and I know I said it was a bit of a miss for me, so even if it's not my favourite map, there is still a lot of things I liked about it. But honestly, the only deal breaker for me was that the map was split into different biomes, basically 5 separate mini-maps, instead of releasing as a fully complete open world explorable map. With only having the option to teleport you and your tames between each biome can get very frustrating due to either spawning inside hostile creatures and insta-dying before you even know what's going on. Your screen is still white, but you're already dead. Admittedly, still works much better on PC, as back in the day I played Genesis Part 1 on console, and your screen would stay white for at least 5 to 10 seconds, which is definitely more than enough time to get your face ripped off. Or the game would just crash because it didn't like it either, so you basically can't win. I would definitely love Genesis Part 1 a lot more, simply if it was just one complete map. Progression is much different in the Genesis simulation. You're given your own personal companion known as HLNA, which you can access for some cheeky rewards, which can be done through spending hexagons discovered throughout your journey, mostly achieved from completing missions, which is a new feature with Genesis. I really enjoyed this feature, and I did have a lot of fun running these missions, but I do know these caused a lot of issues on servers, as it restricted the amount of building space on the map, as you are unable to build in mission zones. So I can also see how this could be very frustrating when playing on a busy server looking for a base location. Some are very challenging, and I do love a good challenge. No artifacts and caves on here. Missions are your key to success. Completing a certain amount of missions will allow you and your friends and your army to teleport into the boss arena. I also did really enjoy this final boss fight, which I had no idea what it was at the time, but after doing some research, apparently it's a digital form of Rockwell, and we already know we defeated him on Aberration. Somehow this man keeps on living, even though we keep killing him off. The map of course will add a wide variety of new and unique fantasy themed creatures for for you to befriend, including the Magmasaur, the Ferox, the Megacolon, and most notably my favourite, the Bloodstalker. Oh man, do I miss the Bloodstalker. It's probably the most fun I've had using any creature in this entire game. There is really no better feeling than slinging webs and shooting yourself further than the eye can see to get yourself around the map quickly, and that just about wraps up Genesis. It's safe to say that we've been through it all when it comes to Rockwell, and well, the story takes another turn in his direction with Genesis Part 2. So we killed him on Aberration, then we killed a simulation version of him too, and now we're stuck here living in his gaff, where he's not dead and back to thriving and surviving while caging poor survivors on his infested ship. The ARK world works in many mysterious ways. With all that being said, it's my least favourite map. That's right, I finally said those words. You start out your journey being gifted to what is basically a full tech suit that operates without requiring element. Therefore, there is none of that awesome, glorious early game grind and struggle that all the previous story maps offer. Of course, you do still have to make yourself a base and tame up an army, but it's still not the same, and you can just soar through the sky like Buzz Lightyear with no worries in the world. Oh wait, Buzz Lightyear can't even fly. That was a terrible example. Anyway, the map does offer some unique takes once again. Story missions return in a more simplified manner. The Genesis ship is split into technically 3 sections. On the right side is a regular ring with green terrain featuring grasslands, lakes, rivers and mountainous regions. In the center, known as Castle Sector, a long canyon of technologically advanced infrastructure bearing similarities to the great city from Extinction. The biome is filled with a wide variety of normal creatures, including the Maywing, a much loved creature by many, especially for its traveling capabilities. Small tunnel systems can be found leading to Sump, an underground ocean. It does include some very cool observation decks with breathable oxygen inside. On the opposite side of the ship is Rockwell's Garden, full of corrupted purple terrain and deadlier creatures, one being the Shadowmane, another fan favourite, which is no surprise as it is probably the strongest and most versatile battle mount in the game. The ship is travelling through deep space looking for a habitable planet. Therefore, in between the 2 rings of the spaceship is space, sharing similar mechanics to the lunar biome from Genesis Part 1. However, whenever the clock strikes midnight of every day, the Genesis ship will enter warp and arrive at a new location. Each location affects the available asteroids that the survivors can harvest within space. It is a very cool feature. It gets you really excited every time a new day arrives, where if you're anything like me, you're out there rushing to get to the asteroids to see what tasty resources are on the menu today. This is also where you'll find the new creatures, the Void Worm, which is a new variant of Wyvern, and also the Astrodelphis, aka Space Dolphins. Speaking of unique biomes, there is another that you can stumble upon while taking in the sights of Rockwell's Garden, and it is the ugliest form of Rockwell yet, his innards. That's right, his insides. Lovely jubbly, giant ball sacks, eyeballs, sloppy Joe poo water. It's the type of thing you see in horror movies like Wrong Turn. Marching through the poo and grotesque flesh-filled pathways, you'll get to face Rockwell for the 3rd time. Shock. Horror. I must admit, it's a very cool boss fight premise, but man, the only time I've ran this boss fight was on Xbox, and oh, the frames. The frames. It was pretty much unplayable, and it's embarrassing that I ever uploaded a video with the evidence of my experience. I'm sure it wouldn't be this bad playing PC, but it is probably still my least favourite boss fight also, and this was where the ARK survival journey was closed out. It's now time to take a quick dive into the community maps. In order of release, beginning with the center. It's very bare bones when compared to a lot of other maps, even more so than the island. But for me, it's a great map to play, offering similar biomes to the island, but having unique features and biomes too, featuring an iconic lava island, home to 2 volcanoes, a fully carnivorous island where only the most experienced of survivors will thrive, an iconic floating island in the middle of the center of the map. It was always my go-to map to visit for taming high-level creatures, as wild levels of creatures are exponentially better. Moving on to Ragnarok. Man, where do I start with this map? I honestly think this is one of the best maps in the game, even beating most story maps when it comes to what is actually on offer. One of the largest maps to date, featuring all the typical biomes we've all come to love, yet the map developer has designed every biome unique in its own way. It was the first map to include elements from the DLC story maps, for example a giant desert adding creatures that would spawn on scorched earth, the second map to include a Wyvern Trench too. More unique regions include the infamous Murder Snow, which is by far the coldest biome in the entire game, and I love it. This is where you can also find yourself a fertilized egg of the Ice Wyvern, which is a map exclusive Wyvern variant, and I cannot forget the giant central canyon, identified by its tall sandy looking cliffs, and a beat up bridge stretching across from one side to the other. It added the much loved griffin, one of my personal favourite creatures in the game. I really am hoping for the griffin to be able to breed when Ragnarok releases in ASA. It's a much needed change in my opinion. Oh yes, the caves. Some of my favourite artifact caves in the game have been from Ragnarok. The ice cave where you have to fight your way through ice cold temperatures and not so baby ice worms, reaching the mother ice worm known as the Ice Worm Queen, which is one of 2 mini bosses on the map to defeat. Delving down into the deep and much hotter jungle dungeon, traversing across giant lava pools, making your way to the Guardian, the formidable lava golem. Both can be killed for excessive amounts of high quality loot, which is something every player dreams of. Moving on to Valguero, maybe one of the more creative takes on a map due to it not being surrounded by an ocean. It does however feature a region known as the Abyss, which is a massive underground ocean full of typical deep sea creatures found on other maps, which really does make this map very unique for that alone. Valguero takes you on a ride through familiar yet new luscious biomes, one being the iconic White Cliffs, a giant region known for its beauty, large open grasslands, and of course the vast majority of White Cliffs connecting the biome as one. Within this region and other regions you can find Deinonychus nesting grounds, which is a map exclusive creature, and surprise surprise, it is of course a fan favourite for many survivors due to its strong attacks and versatile travelling capabilities. More features include Ark's first Ice Wyvern Trench, which leads to an underground cave where the typical Wyvern variants like to hang. It did also add a wild Broodmother mini-boss that has its own lair, something any unprepared survivor will have nightmares about. It's one of the better community created maps, but for me it doesn't have that wow factor when it comes to artifact caves. Crystal Isles was a weird one for me. I don't know what it is, but it never really appealed to me as much as any other map in ARK, even if the biome design does scream unique in your face, as it does offer a bunch of fantasy-themed floating island biomes, which are still to this day absolutely stunning. A snow biome full of floating water bubbles, which strangely have eels and horrible things inside them. When in proximity of the island, it does have its own weather system. Very cool game mechanics there, that's for sure. The first time ARK had ever seen its own giant bee cave, which would go on to influence many other future maps in replicating. It does add a variety of new crystal wyverns, which are smaller wyverns with new and different abilities as opposed to the regular wyvern variants. A new flyer known as the Tropiodnathus, a very extremely cool and quick way to get around, equipped with a jetpack fueled by gasoline, where you can also don yourself a mounted gun. Very cool indeed. The map does add an awesome new boss fight, the Crystal Wyvern Queen, which is a very impressive and exciting battle, but I think the main reason for the map not appealing to me is the artifacts being discovered in the open world and not inside any immersive and challenging artifact caves, which takes away a lot of the fun exploration value for me. With all that being said, it is still a decent map. Lost Island takes me back to everything that made ARK great. The map has a very primitive feel to it, which is something I love, featuring all the biomes that we've come to love in ARK over all the years. The biomes aren't even that unique, but this is when you know that the map creator has nailed it. It brings us all those luscious biomes and gives us all the DLC creatures from story maps, throwing them onto one map where everything makes sense. Notable features include a giant castle compound located in the center of the redwoods, 2 wyvern trenches, one dedicated to the ice wyvern and another featuring the other 3 variants, located around the base of the volcano. Another awesome feature in this region is a magmasaur nesting ground. The map adds a diverse selection of artifact caves to explore. It does also add 3 new creatures, the Dinopithecus, which is a baboon with excellent climbing skills and offensive capabilities. The Amargasaurus, yeah, I've never tamed one. Looks cool, however I'd be confident in saying that it is the most annoying creature to tame in the entire game, so that is on me. Now onto the creature that I have so much love for, one of my favourite creatures in the entire game, and aren't they adorable? This is the Sonomacrops. Oh, look at that cute little face. By far the most fun shoulder pet in the game. Who knew a tiny little guy like him could carry a giant giraffe guy like me? What an absolute beast. I cannot wait until the Sonomacrops comes to ARK Survival Ascended. Lost Island also adds a new boss fight, which is the Dinopithecus King, offering a new enjoyable challenge to face. And the final map that came to ARK Survival Evolved was Fjordur, and you could really say that they went out with a bang on this one. I'd feel confident in saying that this is almost everyone's favourite map. It basically adds everything great that the game developers have given us over the years and throws it all onto one map, while also adding a bunch of cool and unique gameplay mechanics and exploration value. A Norse-inspired map that pays homage to the Lord of the Rings franchise, where many of the locations are based on many of the iconic sets from the films. You can relive the Battle of Helm's Deep here if you want to, and turn it into a cozy fortress of your own. Explore the mines of Moria to discover the room at which the Fellowship are cornered by hordes of goblins and a cave troll, exiting on the skinny bridge where Gandalf yelled those famous words. The map is a beautiful design of 4 islands with interconnecting biomes that intertwine perfectly with one another. Not only that, but it also utilizes the Genesis teleport feature where you can teleport to one of the 3 mythical realms, Jotunheim, Vanaheim and Asgard, fully separate from the main map. Jotunheim is an ice-cold death trap, averaging minus 45 degrees, while dropping up to minus 70 degrees C at the coldest of times, comparable to Ragnarok's murder snow. This biome is hands down my favorite biome in the game due to the ridiculous difficult survival aspects. And if you know me, I love a good snow biome with freezing cold temperatures. I absolutely loved this biome so much I decided to live here for 100 days in hardcore mode. By far the hardest challenge I have ever set myself in this game, and I am looking to replicate this survival journey and try something either on another map on ARK Survival Evolved, or if I find a biome cold enough for me to try, on ARK Survival Ascended. So if you haven't seen that video, I highly recommend checking that one out. Link will be in the description of the video. Moving back to Fjordur's realms, Vanaheim is a colourful forest with giant glowing flowers and mushrooms, a much less hostile environment, and Asgard, home to widespread fields and sparse forests, including an aberration-inspired forest, which leads to a fully irradiated rock drake nesting ground. These realms are all non-flying zones, that is unless you own yourself a Desmodus, a bat that is the only flyer that can fly inside caves, one of the most useful creatures in the game. The map also adds the Fjordhawk, the Andrewsarchus, and the Fenrir, which is a creature that can only be obtained after defeating the new boss of Fenrir. Another new and exciting entry for the boss fight lovers out there. A plethora of diverse, unique and challenging artifact caves, 3 new mini bosses that offer even more of a challenge, and a means to farm element and some tasty loot. All in all, Fjordur is the most complete experience for any player, as it adds almost every creature in the game naturally spawning on the map, a variety of bosses, and an awesome new take on map design. I love the variety in this game. There's almost always something new to explore, something new to tame, something new to build. ARK is a giant ball of adventure that keeps on going round and round and round. Now we move on to seasonal events, which are a feature that gets me hyped up every time they drop. Whether that be Love Evolving, Turkey Trialing, throwing a Summer Bash party, or my 2 favourite events, which I'll focus on in this section, Fear Evolved and Winter Wonderland. Fear Evolved will of course run over the course of Halloween. I just love the excitement these events give us, exploring the map, hunting down pumpkin patches, bone piles, etc, so that we can craft all those new event cosmetics with every 3rd day when the clock strikes midnight, attempting to hunt down the mighty Dodorex and the Dodo Wyvern for the ultimate challenge and adrenaline rush. Nothing beats it, and well, Christmas is my favourite time of the year, which therefore means Winter Wonderland is also my favourite event in ARK. There's nothing that beats seeing raptor claws soaring through the sky, dropping presents for you to find and open at midnight of every day, where you gotta get yourself up out of your base straight out to find some presents. And it really does bring the best parts of Christmas into the game. I love opening my Christmas presents in real life, so it's great to be able to do that in game too. I always remember playing Lost Island with my wife when he appeared. It was the first time my wife got to experience raptor claws, and she was actually loving it more than me. It goes to show that even the little things in this game can be very enjoyable. Even the seasonal events have given me many fond memories. Boosh! Ascendant Pike Blueprint, get in! Ah, the story of ARK. Where to start? Well, the truth is, I didn't even know there was a main storyline after playing the game for 5 years. I have definitely taken much more notice of it in my later years of playing it, but the fact of the matter is you don't really need to know anything about the storyline for you to stay hooked on this game. The game itself does throw us into the thick of things with no obvious direction that a story even exists. I did come to really appreciate the story later down the line, and I do take much more pleasure in following it a whole lot more. But even then, it's a struggle to even know where or how to start start, especially if you are new to this game. The story can be followed in-game, where you can follow in the footsteps of the previous survivors that walked the Arks.
I've lost count of how many sunrises I've seen since I've arrived on this island.
Believe it or not, Rockwell, yes, that ugly contraption of a thing, was once a man that walked and explored this world. A genius, some might say. However, the element in this world turned his ideas into madness, therefore he went insane. And that was the result. Eleanor Walker is the first explorer to introduce us to the story, and gives us highly detailed dossiers of the creatures that inhabit the world, and was one of Rockwell's companions at one point, before he turned to madness. This story can be followed by collecting the explorer notes and dossiers found around the open world. There is a lot to gather, so if you do enjoy the story, it will definitely give you something extra to grind out. Not that this game isn't enough to grind out as it is, but I find it kind of therapeutic searching for these notes. By far the best representation of the ARK story is from Neddy the Noodle. He makes the best cinematic storylines for the game and brings the ARK story to life. The videos he has created are fascinating to watch, and I honestly can't big him up enough. But also creating cinematic movies following the POVs of the main characters that wrote the Explorer notes, and he was kind enough to grant me permission to use some of his footage from his survival stories videos, which I can't thank him for enough. It is hands down some of the best ARK content I have watched, and I know the full story of ARK not through gathering Explorer notes, but through watching Neddy's videos. So if you do want to know more about the ARK story, I highly recommend checking out his channel. Link will be in the description of the video and in a pinned comment, of course. This game has given me so many over the last 10 years, and I will admit I was really looking forward to sharing this section with you all. These are my favourite personal memories that ARK has given me over the years, and it's given me a lot. Too many that I could never throw into one video, but I'll do my best. So when I first started playing this game, me and a few real life friends got the game together and tribed up on official PvP. And I always remember the first day playing this game like it was yesterday. The constant feeling of fear and adrenaline every time you see another player in game. And the servers were rammed. There were people everywhere. Surprisingly, we didn't have too much trouble with that at first. We did admittedly get killed on the beach a few times, but of course this is bound to happen when playing an open world survival game on PvP. We decided to wait for nightfall as we figured we'd be far more difficult to spot for other players. Unknown to us, we happened to be running through the swamps, and I'm pretty sure we died a few times. By the next morning, we managed to make our way to a cozy little spot hidden amongst a dense forest area, and did not mess around in getting straight to work, gathering wood, stone and anything else we could find to build ourselves a safe shelter for the night, hidden in the trees right above the swamp. Of course, at the time we had no idea that we had ran through a swamp and built above it. Obviously we were new players and had no idea what we were doing. We figured build our base deep in the forest to stay hidden. That was until we harvested all the trees nearby and realized they weren't going to respawn. We logged out for the night feeling good about our new base. The following day I logged in and there was a man in my house, which I thought was my tribe mate, but of course it wasn't. And I had just woken up in real life and in game, so the reaction speed and senses weren't exactly the best. I was just going about my own business, accessing my smithy, unbeknownst to me that my door was smashed in and that there was a man inside my house who was no friend of mine at all. This man KO'd me with a club and a wanna, kept me asleep with narcoberries while dragging me away for what felt like an eternity. I had no idea what this man's motives were. All I know is that he is taking me somewhere that I don't want to go. The next thing I know, I was thrown inside a wooden cage and was now held captive, which looked like a House from the Hills Have Eyes, where this man was trying to sell me off to other tribes through game chat. Excuse me sir, I think you're playing the wrong game. He made sure to keep me alive by KOing me and force feeding me scraps of food and water, making sure I would not starve to death or succumb to dehydration. And just so you know, I gave him no reaction whatsoever. I didn't type in game chat, I didn't talk to him, I didn't do anything. I figured that is what he wanted. A reaction out of me. But you weren't gonna get one, son. I was currently on the phone to one of my mates, begging for him to break me out, and he did make it onto the game, but unfortunately, he also had nothing. He was also level 20 something. He ran around the forest for 10 minutes searching for a nearby base, to no avail. And he had to go to work in real life, so no backup for me. Luckily, I was busy this whole time working on my computer, so I was just kind of watching my other screen, asking myself, is this guy ever gonna release me, or is he just gonna just sit there trying to sell me in chat. This man was persistent though. It wasn't until 6 hours had passed that he finally decided to give up. He knocked me out and dragged me away, leaving me for dead. I have no idea why he didn't just kill me, because I watched him drag me down what appears to be a large hill with some windy paths, abandoning me in the forest. I figured he had dragged me for a few minutes, which was clear to me that he was based up pretty close to where we built our base. The rest of my friends were also at work, so I just logged out for the rest of the day. I did message them with everything that had happened to me, and of course they just laughed at me. I did also mention to them that I know where his base is, or at least I thought I did, which was good enough for me. So that night my backup arrived and my friends were online, so we ventured out and hunted this man down, and it didn't take long at all. Lo and behold, he was based at the top of the hill right above our base. It was really easy to find. He had cleared the entire area out, building a wooden hut in the middle, surrounded in spike walls. And at this point in the game we literally have nothing, as this guy ransacked our entire base, and we didn't really have anything anyway. No metal for metal tools, nothing. The only way we could see to break in was damaging his spike walls. I remember we kept crafting tons of spears, taking it in turns, stabbing at his spike walls and waiting for our health to regen. After many broken spears and waiting to regain our health. And at this point we're probably still only around level 30 to 40, so don't exactly have the strongest of stats. It probably took us around 20 minutes of rinse and repeat in this process to finally get in, just to find he had a reinforced door on his house. Spears do not damage most wooden structures, and they definitely don't damage a reinforced door. So what we had to do was go out and farm all the resources around his base. We set up a smithy and a forge as close as possible, grabbed some scraps of metal for the stone rocks, made some metal tools, and began hacking down his door, which didn't take too long with 3 of us swinging. After a few minutes we were in. He was offline at the time, so we gave him the same treatment, force feeding him a load of narco berries. Killed off all his tame dodos, stuck him in a cage outside his base and threw down a sign in front of him asking if his name was Nicolas Cage. And that was it. Then we left and laughed about it all. This experience single-handedly scarred me for life at the time. You just don't expect people to do that in a game. I can always look back and laugh at it now. We went from that to becoming a larger tribe, having many large-scale battles, getting wiped out a few times. The first time my friend in real life decided to make friends with someone in game that he didn't know in real life, which he did later invite to our tribe. We thought he seemed like a decent guy for the most part, and would even play other games with him casually. And just after a few weeks of knowing this guy, the one day that we were all offline on ARK for almost the entire day, he grabs all our important tames from our base and marches them all down the beach. Those days cryopods were non-existent, so this man literally ran down the beach with an army of our creatures in tow and gave them all to another tribe which he proceeded to join. We basically had 0 useful creatures after this, but still had our base fully intact at least, and luckily we did have some other friends on the server that teamed up with us, helping us blow into their base. We pretty much had absolutely no way to kill their tames, and everything was stuck on neutral. We had to go tactical on this one, blowing a hole into their outside perimeter, baited out all of their tames, which of course were our tames that they stolen from us. Feels bad, man. And I remember we still had a water pen which had our tribe mates Moser in. They didn't manage to steal that one, and well, I can't really say it felt good killing our own creatures. They all had the same names we had given them, and that is how we killed all of our own tames. I just wanted to bring up that story too. You would not believe the politics and corruption in PvP ARK. It's pretty unreal. I had some massive trust issues after all this legacy PvP from back in the day, even after getting wiped out multiple times by larger tribes when server transfers opened up for the first time, having to rebuild over and over and over again, playing different servers, solo defending my base from a giant mega tribe that rolled the entire server. I was finally done with official PvP. Even after all that pain and effort, I still continued to play this game. Since then, I only play PvE and fun PvP with friends, nothing serious anymore. And once again, it changed the way I play ARK again. I could enjoy the game for what it is. COVID came about a few years later, where I was stuck at home and isolating for 3 months. This is when I started my YouTube channel. After all the torture of the PvP days, I still carried on playing casually with my real life friends while making videos. I even got my wife in on some of the action, and I'm also proud to announce that I got her into playing ARK with me too. I was happy not interacting with any other players, and of course my previous interactions didn't exactly showcase friendly people. However, a couple of years into my YouTube journey, I got an email from ARK.
Hey, Bumblade! It's ARK! Fancy joining us for Season 3 of Monarchy? The biggest ARK 2 bit collab on the internet, eh? Peace outer.
I honestly couldn't believe it. At the time, I was just a small YouTuber that still played Xbox, and Rasclark and the Monarchy at the time were a massive influence to me, and still to this day they are people I really look up to in this field. I decided to buy a gaming PC and join them, which was the first time I actually played ARK on PC. This was probably the best experience in my ARK journey yet. The guys at Monarchy are the nicest, coolest, and most talented people I have ever met, and I still couldn't believe that little old me was invited to be a part of something so big. It was so nice to join a group of positive and like-minded people. I will forever be grateful to them all for giving me that experience, and I feel privileged to be able to call them my friends. And I do hope to rejoin them again soon. Joining Monarchy did also restore my faith in the community. I can guarantee that you can meet a lot of cool people and make a lot of new friends while playing this game. I was probably just really unlucky in my interactions with people during Legacy PvP. These are just some small snippets of some of my favourite and hilarious memories. This game has given me so many fond memories that I don't think any other game could ever achieve. If you do somehow think you've done everything there is to do in ARK and managed to beat every boss on every map, well, think again. There are thousands of mods in this game. Unfortunately, playing PC on ARK Survival Evolved is the only way to enjoy mods. They do not exist on console. This is by far ARK Survival Ascended's best selling point, as it features many cross-platform compatible mods, meaning PC, Xbox and PlayStation can all play on the same server together and enjoy all the same mods. Mods come in all shapes and sizes, ranging from new creatures and dinos, quality of life mods, some really good mod maps that can take you on a new and fresh journey alone, and also overhaul mods. If you feel like you need a whole new challenge and that ARK wasn't difficult enough for you, well, there's also plenty of overhaul mods to spice up your ARK world, completely changing how the game works from what we know as vanilla players. Primitive based overhaul mods for all those primitive fans out there, or if you want to challenge yourself to something completely foreign, Primal Fear would be a good example, adding hundreds of new items, creatures and freakishly devastating bosses to the game. There is so much versatility in the modded community that you can add to your game to create a whole new gaming experience for yourself to enjoy. Perfectly showcased here by my friends Rampy and Aaron Aztec. Both are awesome YouTubers that focus on 100 days playthrough videos, by far some of the best when it comes to these tough challenges. Rampy focusing on more unique challenge based playthroughs, while Aaron typically will challenge himself to the toughest overhaul mods that ARK has to offer. So I highly recommend checking both of them out. Links to their channels will be in the description of the video. So to summarize, and I keep reiterating the same statement, but the fact of the matter is, there is just no other game like ARK. I've been playing video games ever since I was small, and no game has been as addicting as ARK. Yes, I know it's not the perfect game, it comes with its many bugs and glitches, and I won't mention the horrible game publishers here in this video, or their current decisions as of late with ASA, as I want this video to be a fully positive appreciation video to the original game. ARK Survival Evolved gives a complete experience to the player, and there's nothing else remotely close on the market. I just love this game so much. The early game is the best feeling for me, starting out naked and afraid with nothing, the wildlife always keeping you on your toes while progressing through the game, sinking countless hours upon hours upon hours into it, facing new experiences along the way, fighting a boss or two, then rinse and repeating the same process on a new and different map, ready and raring to do it all over again. There is no doubt in my mind that I will still happily play ARK Survival Evolved and also ARK Survival Ascended to death for many more years to come. I do have faith in the wildcard devs. It kind of sounds sad to say, but ARK has really changed my life in many ways. I cannot emphasize how grateful I am to this game and also all of you who watch my videos, and if you continue to watch, then I will continue to make videos. I have come to love everything about this game, and I can play this game for 10 hours straight by myself and still not get bored, and it just gets more fun when you play with your friends. I would highly recommend ARK to any gamer who is a fan of the open world survival genre. It may not be the best company behind it, but Wildcard have given us a game like no other, and it will always remain as a great game to try no matter how old it becomes. There was one more section I wanted to share with you all. I figured it made sense to leave it to the end. The entire soundtrack of ARK and all its DLCs is composed by none other than Gareth Coker, and damn, this man knows how to create an emotional rollercoaster of a soundtrack. Every track he has created almost always gets me pumped. You just can't beat this soundtrack. I've grabbed a small selection of my favourite tracks from the game. Hope you all enjoyed the video. It took me a very long time to make, and I hope I've made you feel something while watching this, because I know I have while recording and editing it. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe for more, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it away, Gareth, you magnificent beast.